A very good evening to all participants who have joined us today. I'm Sanat, your host as Atlassian community leader and moderator for this event. Today's event is brought to you by Atlassian and co-sponsored by Adaptavist and Agile Management Consultancy. Just for information, this event marks our second event of the year. The first being in April 30th. In our first session, I presented on Jira software overview for leaders and managers. On behalf of Atlassian Community Kuala Lumpur, we are extremely excited to have you here today, and we hope this session will be of benefit to you, both for your career and for your work. So the topic we've chosen today for today's Atlassian community event is Jira best practices for new admins. We believe that this topic is timely and relevant given the surge of interest that we see in Jira and its related apps. Today, we are privileged to have two very talented and experienced professionals from Adaptavist. We have Mr. Raziman and Mr. De Loon. For those who don't know our co-sponsor for this event today, Adaptavist, they are the world's leading global Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, supporting more than half of the world's Fortune 500 companies in one way or the other. I'm very sure the speakers, whom I shall introduce very shortly, shall provide a high level of overview on the topic today, Jira best practices for new admin. Just a quick rundown of my background. My area is predominantly in Agile. I am a certified Agile practitioner and coach. I have my own training and coaching company called Agile Management Consultancy, also the co-sponsor of this event today. I typically do Agile transformation exercises for companies. In most parts, I do training and thereafter consulting and coaching engagements. Let's get on to what this community is all about. For those of you who probably are here for the first time, Atlassian community in KL is rather new, I would say. I took up this role early this year. And in setting up companies or communities around the world, Atlassian hopes to build a global network of people with a shared mission to build relationships and expand their knowledge of Atlassian products. So my role as your community leader in Malaysia is to pool resources like what we're doing today and to share some of the best practices in Agile and various integrations and apps along with other suite of Atlassian products and tools that we're looking at, some of which will be looked at today and explained to us by our experts. So let's get on to what do we have for today. A quick rundown of the agenda. I will very soon hand over to Mr. Raziman Dom from Adaptavist. You can call him very fondly as Razi. Razi, as you will see him shortly, is extremely talented. He has been working in diverse industries as a back-end developer, from big enterprises in IT and banking industry to small startup companies, working on an array of areas like Java, AWS, APIs, NoSQL, and microservices. In 2020, he started exploring Atlassian and found new passion in one of their tools, Script Runner, which we will hear a little bit about later. As a software support team lead, he leads his team in helping customers solve their technical difficulties and proposing the best solution for their requirements. After achieving the Atlassian Certified Master Certification, Raziman is now slowly engaging the Atlassian community, and today being one of his engagement work, contributing his ideas in solving today's challenges. Now, we also have with us someone else, but Razi will first do 2 sessions on Jira Cloud overview followed by Jira administration best practices. The other gentleman we have from Adaptavis is Mr. Derlun. When I think of Derlun, I think of him as an agile guy. I'll tell you why. Because you will see what I mean. Because Derlun is not only a Jira Cloud Atlassian Administrator certified with over 8 years of experience, but equally competent in delivery using Agile methodology. So that's why I call him the Agile guy. Now, prior to joining Adaptavis, he was a product owner in Maxis and has been using Atlassian tools since the start of his career. So that's pretty long. As a support engineer, he helps customers to resolve technical issues and suggest solutions to solve customer problems. So stay tuned until the end because our co-sponsors today have crafted what we call the Adaptavis merchandises for 5 lucky winners who've gotten the highest score in the quiz, which we will have at the end of this program. So yes, stay tuned. So now it's my privilege to call upon Mr. Razi to share about Jira Cloud Overview. Over to you, Mr. Razi.
Thank you very much, Sanat, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Right, I hope everyone can see my screen. First of all, I want to say thank you very much to everyone for joining this session. So for this event, we will cover some best practices as a new admins and some practical examples and little bit demonstration on how you can implement in your Jira Cloud. Right. Before we move to our main agenda, I'm going to talk about the Jira Cloud overview. Jira originally used for the bug and issue tracking for a software development project. But today, since Jira can be fully customizable, you can create your own Jira workflow, Jira permission, issue screen, custom field, and there are also tons of plugins that you can try. They are free and paid version that you can get from the marketplace for more advanced, more automated process. So that's why now Jira has become more powerful tools that can also be used for the non-IT project, like project management, engineering, finance, test automation, and HR onboarding. So still, since Jira give this flexibility, control to Jira admin, as the Jira admin, you have to be very careful. Don't overdo it because you might kill your team's productivity. Right. There are 2 types of Jira that you can subscribe to. If you are coming from the small team, or if you want to get always want to get the latest update, latest features, latest bug fixing, Jira Cloud will be your best choice. But if you want to have a full control, where is your data located, or if you have a allocated budget to do the hosting, or you want to have a specific timeline when you want to upgrade, or you have a dedicated security team to handle the security, then Jira DC will be your next choice. Right, let's move to our main agenda, administration best practices. So as a developer, have you ever been in this situation? You already developed a very nice feature of your mobile application, or as an HR, you already came up with a very well structured of your workflow, but still your users don't use the features that you develop for them, or your employees don't use the proper onboarding workflow. So the main idea is always focus on your user experience, your user needs, instead of the fanciness of your application. So I'm going to touch about the Jira workflow first. Right, there are 2 types of workflow in Jira. By default, you will get a simplified workflow for some of the Jira project, but still you can customize it. You can add more status, more transitions, post function, validators, condition, which is called Jira workflow. Right, the first step is make it simple. Don't overdo it. Don't add too many status, too many transitions in your workflow. Try to check if there are any status that can be merged together. Ensure each status has its own purpose. And you can ask your developer, are we having too many restriction in this status, or are we having too many approval? So what's your user experience from A to Z, from the issue creation until closing the ticket? Are they fine with it? Are they satisfied with the workflow? So let's take a look at these two examples. This example is the actual Jira project, Jira workflow from get from the Jira project. Um, on the left side, as you can see, there are too many status and too many transitions. Um, they just kind of using a many to many relationship. So each status can move to any status, which doesn't make sense. For instance, from backlog jump to close, close jump to cancel, then jump back to do, which doesn't make sense. So make sure you add a relevant transition. And the right side is looks like okay, but actually it's nightmare for some company because it's still using too many status. What you can do, maybe you can interview like maybe up to 5 stakeholder from the different department. Ask them, do they understand what is the reason this issue under this status? What is the definition of done? Do they know the differences between done, close, release, resolve, or QA tested pass? Do they know the differences? And try to get their feedback. And if each of the feedback have different feedback, then something wrong with your workflow. Try to get everyone on the same page. Right. Next one is on here. Constant feedback. For those that still new with Jira, you can start with the simplified workflow first, and then maybe you can have a weekly feedback from your user to add more status, more transition, as long as as long as both party, Jira admin and users provide a very strong justification why they really need those. And standardized scheme. So for the big company, you might have hundreds of Jira projects, and each project might belong to a unique owner. So as the owner, it might be tempted for you to have a specific or customized for your own Jira project, but you have to bear in mind if you have, you might face compatibility issue when you want to move an issue from a project to another project, or if you have a Jira board that have a multiple project, some of the issue might be missing under Jira board column, which I will explain this later under the board section. All right, let's take a look at this scenario. So we start with the simplified workflow first, and there's a stakeholder request for code review status. For this scenario, in my opinion, it does make sense to add a code review after in progress before done, which because this is where your technical lead will review the changes. So the for in progress is where the developer do their development, and then after they're done, move to the code review. There is another activity which will be assigned to the different assignee, which makes sense to add a new status. So after add some transition, to do can go to in progress, sorry, go to the code review, and from the code review and done can be moved to the reopen if the code review is failed or if the bug is not properly closed. And now we have another stakeholder request for rejected status after the code review. For this one, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense because it sounds like redundant with the reopen. If you create a new rejected status, is it going to assign to a new assignee? If there is any activity going on if in this issue under rejected status? So for this one, it's better for you to update your transition to rejected action. So instead of create new one, update the transition to rejected. Right. Next one is update the resolution. So if you want to create a new resolution, make sure you update the resolution. Like if you want to create a new close or done, completed, answered, all of something similar like this, make sure you update your resolution to resolve. Same goes to new status that related to reopen. Make sure you clear out those resolution. So I'm going to demonstrate this one in my Jira Cloud. So for example, here, right now I'm in the project settings under workflow. I'm going to add a new status in this workflow. So right now, this is by default created by Jira. If you check post function under each of these status, Jira already added post function for you to update the resolution to resolve at the first row. And same goes to the in progress. If you check under the post function, you already create a post function to clear out the resolution. So if you want to create a new one, for instance, let me create a close, and I'm going to allow all status transition to this one. Right, I'm going to publish this, and I will demonstrate in the issue screen. Right, this one is a project KT2. Let's take a look at this one example. So for now, status is under backlog. If I move to done, resolution will update down here. Okay, let's move back to the in progress. So the resolution will be cleared. But since you don't add any post function under close, the status show close, but the resolution is still unresolved, which is confusing. If you go to your filter at the KT2 board, you can see here, it show as closed, but still the solution show as unresolved. So make sure you update your solution whenever you want to create a new status. Right, let's move on to issue screen. Right, for issue screens, since Jira give the power, the flexibility to the Jira admin to add a new custom field, like all the good things, too much of it might can lead to the bad things. So if you have too many custom field on the issue screen, might give the create more complex, more confusing screens to your user. So make sure you only request the information that you really need at that time. For instance, you can take example like create issue screen. Make sure you only request information to create issue screen, or it is sufficient enough for the assignee of the issue understand what is the reporter's request. So let's take a look at the next slide. So this is the testing done by Atlassian itself in Jira DC. So as you can see here, less is better. Too much custom field will affect your Jira response time. So according to this graph, this graph is a Jira action against the response time. So as you can see, the lower your custom field is, the lower your response time is. So make sure you delete any unused custom field and try to merge any really custom field. And if there's any stakeholder request for a new custom field, make sure you ask the question, do they really need those? And how many percent of the issue screen, sorry, how many issues will use those custom field? Is it less than 5%? Is it make sense to add it? But yeah, still worst case, we still need to add the custom field, which is fine. But if you need to add a more custom field, make sure you hide the irrelevant custom field. You can use a configure field to hide those fields from the users, and try to implement tab screen. You can place some fields in a separate tab for a specific group of users. Maybe you want to have create a for only tester. And you can also use transition screen. For transition screen, it's suitable if you want to request more information, you want to move an issue to another issue, maybe from in progress to the testing, you want to send more information to the tester, you can use a transition screen. All right, let's move on to the next demonstration. I'm going to close this one for a while. Okay. Right. First, I will show to you on how can we create a tab screen. It's really straightforward. You can go to the project settings, go to the screen, and I'm going to edit the default screen scheme. All right. Click your issue screen, and just click add tab to create a new tab. For example, I'm going to create like project management, and maybe project cost and project owner. So if you already added a field under different tab, you cannot reuse it under the separate tab. right? Project post. Right, that's it. So it will automatically update by the Jira Cloud. So next, what about the transition screen? Before we move to the transition screen, I'm going to share to you the fields that I'm going to use, which is test. Okay, for now, test case and test lead is not associated to any screens. Right, I'm going to create a new screen here. You can call it as a tester. Then go to your screen, click this triple dot and add a new test case and test lead. So Jira will automatically help you to associate your field into this screen. If you go back to your custom field and search for the test, now you can see now it has a one screen. So next is how can we add your screen to your workflow? Let's try in the Scrum test project. So go to the project settings here and go to your workflow. Click edit. So for this example, I will add a transition screen in progress. Click edit here and choose the test. Save it and make sure you publish. I'm not going to save the backup, so I will choose no. Right, SD project. So let's take a look at one one issue here, SD1. So if you move, so let's go back to do. If you move to in progress, it will pop up a new screen to ask for more information. So let's test test case ID1, test lead Razi, and move to in progress. Okay, as you can see here, you cannot find where is your test both of that two test custom field because you didn't map to the didn't associate to the right screen, which is view screen. So you have to go back to your custom field that you created and go back to the test. So both of these need to associate the screen to the view screens, which is SD. I'm going to select both of these and update. And if we refresh it again, now you can see the test case and the test lead. Oh, sorry, I only add a test case. So yeah, you have to add both, as a reminder, you have to add both custom field to the right screen. Right, let's move on. So as a reminder again, make sure you update your custom field. Previously, I only add one, I only associate screen to one test custom field. That's why I only show one. So that is a reminder to me as well. Right, let's move on to the permission. So for permission, I'm not going to very detail about this. I just want to highlight the differences between roles and group because this is the most common question that will ask in the SCP exam if you guys want to take the SCP exam. Right, role is being maintained by the project administrator where group is maintained by Jira administrator. So if you have same team members that are working on the multiple project, it'd be much better for you to put it under groups because group has the global permission. So group can be run to the all Jira projects. But if you have a different team members working on a different project, so it'd be much better to put under role. So role A only have access to Jira project A, but group A have both access, project A and project B. All right, let's move on to the board. So for this one, I don't have any slide. I'm going to skip that. I will straight away jump to the demonstration. So For your information, Jira board is not associated to a single project, but it is belong to the JQL. So if your JQL contain multiple Jira project, so that means you can have one Jira board for the multiple Jira projects. You can define it under the board setting. So if you check under general setting here, go to the edit filter query. So if you click this, for now, as you can see, it's only belong to one project. If you want to add a multiple project, you can add multiple project. For example, I'm going to add STB1 and STB2. But still bear in mind, as I mentioned before on the workflow section, if this project have a different workflow, some of the status might be hidden under board column. That's why we need to ensure both have the same workflow. If it's not, make sure you update your column. All right, so before we do this, let's take a look at the workflow for STB1 and STB2. Right, let's move to the STB1 and take a look at the workflow. Diagram. So now we all have to do, done, and in progress. And let's take a look at the STB2. For STB2, let's check the project settings, workflow, and diagram. So it have a multiple status, which is reopen and close is a different one. So if, for example, if there are any status under, so if there are any issue under a close and reopen status, it might be hidden. So let's see if there are any status under the STB2. Right, there is one here under reopen. So let's update the previous JQL under STB1 board. So I already include STB1 and STB2. Okay, I'm going to search it first and then save it. Right, it's already saved. Let's go back to your board again. So if you go to the column, it will show here there is one status hidden, one issue hidden from this status, which is reopen. So as a reminder, make sure you always check if there is any unmapped status if you have a different workflow. Right, let's move on to the swim lanes. So swim lane is a row of your board. So for instance, if you want to make high priority of some components, like component Java first, you want to put at the top Java and then followed by database and then CSS, you can use the swim lanes. For example, I'm going to add a component equal to Java. Then another one, maybe database. Right, let's move to our board again. So let's assign any of these to Jira Java component. This node. Let's create a new one. Java, save and create a database. Right, let's move back to the Jira board. Right, let's assign one of these component as Java. So as you can see, it will always show on the top, and you can add more like a database. So the row will be followed by database. Right. Let's move to the next one. Quick filter. Quick filter is a self-explanatory. It's just a quick filter. If you go to the board, there's up here, there is a quick filter. So quick filter always search on top of your existing JQL filter. Another one that I want to mention is about the Kanban board. Let's move to the Kanban board. For example, if you have a a lot of issue in your backlog. So you should use the Kanban backlog features that is created by the Jira. So you can simply just drag and drop, and there's a new option here for you to manage all of your backlog. So it won't show a long list under your Kanban board because you can manage it under backlog. All right, I'm done with the board. Let's move. The last one is Jira shortcut and help icon. So try to get used to the most common action. Like you can display list of the Jira shortcut by pressing question mark. Then try to get used to most common like create issue, assign issue, comment, watch, or there is one, yeah, assign to me. This one I always use it to assign the ticket to me. For instance, you can just click C to create an issue, or if you want to assign the ticket to yourself, you can click I. Let me quickly demonstrate to you. For example, it is unassigned, you can just click I. Now it's assigned to me. So it's really straightforward and useful. Another one, Jira have a lot of useful article up here if you click the help icon. So please use it. For example, I want to search about the shortcut about the keyboard. You can use this search bar article Atlassian editor. So there are a lot of useful article that you can get from this search bar. Right. I guess that's it from my side. I hope you guys learned something new, or maybe at least you can have a fresh recall from what you have learned before. So I'm going to pass to Dulun to proceed for the next slide for about the app recommendation. Right, over to you, Dulun.
Yep, thank you, Razi. Yep, I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, I'm just going to talk about the top selling app of Jira. In Jira, these are the top three. They serve different purpose. So yeah, let's go through that. So the first one is Zephyr Squad. That's for more for QA. Tempo Timesheet is more for account managers, and Script Runner is more for automating your Jira processes. So let's go to the first one. So Zephyr Squad is for testing, as I mentioned. So it allows you to really synchronize your test result with the test framework that you have. Probably Selenium JUnit is one of the few that you can do it. User can integrate with CI tools such as Jenkins and Bamboo. If you look at the screenshots, so there's a couple of things. All the sprints that you have, then they give you the rundown of the visualization of the test results for those sprints. Green indicate pass, red indicate fail, and yellow indicate is WIP, which is work in progress. So yeah, the next one would be Tempo Timesheet. So this is more for tracking the amount of hours that your employee works. This is good for charging clients. You might have a per hour basis charging mechanism going on. So this will be a good place to start to track that and then export the report and send to your clients and charge your clients accordingly. It's also good for really calculating our CAPEX and OPEX as well. So the third one would be Script Runner for Jira Cloud. So in a nutshell, Script Runner is really for extending, automating, administrating, and really customizing your Jira that you can't out of the box. So I'll move on to the demo. So as you can see, this is a HR project. So the use case for this is when you're hiring someone, you want to create a ticket. So I'll go on and create a ticket. So let's say you have an interview scheduled with let's say you have an interview scheduled with John. So let's create this task. Oops, I think I created the wrong project. Hold on. So the HR project and interview John. So once you create the project, create the issue, sorry, you get a view such as this. So you typically go through the processes as usual, going through the workflows. But once the candidate have been hired, you probably want to create a few tasks for the others to actually work on it, such as creating a Jira access for the candidate that's going to be hired. So once we move on to hired, a bunch of subtasks will be created, as you can see. So this is kind of automating the process of creating the subtasks that's most important for HR person. So as you can see, there's a bunch of subtasks being created, request for new mobile device, new hardware, admin access for certain HR system maybe. And you also can go into really automating the signing of each of these tasks as well. So the next one would be the escalation service feature of Script Runner. So as you can see from this ticket, the candidate have been hired, but it seems that this ticket has not been worked on. So then there will be a reminder being sent commenting on the ticket every day, so that it will be sent to the assignee that is assigned to this ticket, so that they get reminded to action on it. So that's pretty much it, but let's go and dig through how it's being configured. So if we look at project settings and we go into your workflow, you can really see that there's a subtask here. So you click on edit, click on a diagram. So you can take a look at the post function in that is actually doing the magic in the back end. So how the subtask being created automatically was through the workflow function of Script Runner. This is a built-in script function. So as you can see, its function is to create a subtask. So there are a few things that you can do with this. You can set a condition. Let's say it needs to have a signee before it triggers this subtask. You can really drill down and really target a certain issue type that you want to create. And also the last bit is the additional code, which you can then assign it to a certain person for this subtask. So this one is a user ID of the user. Yeah, and the last portion would be escalation service. So let me go to that. Right. So escalation service will look something like this, which reminds the assignee to actually work on the subtask, as you can see earlier. So there's a bit of code over here. So what does the code do is really look into the see the subtask, and if subtask is in the condition of done, then it does nothing, because the main goal is really to remind the user to actually action on it. If that is done, then it won't do anything. But if it's not done, then it will then remind the user to actually action on it, as you can see from this body of code. So, and then you can actually drill down to the JQL, basically targeting the tickets that needs to run this function. So these are the few features that Script Runner has in cloud. But of course, if you need a more bespoke solution, we also have scripting service, which you can reach out to the team and they'll really customize it to your needs. And beyond that, if you need some guidance on terms of scripting, I mean, you need any template instead of scripting guidance, we have the Adaptability library, which you can look at here. There's a bunch of example scripts. If you can't find it here, you can actually reach out to our scripting service. So yeah, I'm going to drop the link for this right after this. Yeah, I think that's about it on my side.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Darlun. And thank you, Razi, for that comprehensive sharing. I thought the best thing to do now is perhaps let's try and sort of summarize it before we take the questions. The best sort of summary I like to do is to do it via a game. So for those who are not familiar with Kahoot, basically you just have to use your handphone. I've just typed the link on the chat. It's kahoot.it, Kahoot.it. So once you do that on your phone, you'll be sort of display the code. And I will tell you what that code is. And then you just insert your name and try and insert your first name at least so that we can keep track of who answered what question so that we can award you the gifts from Adaptavis should you become the top 5. So the way it works is this, the ones who is key in the right answer and the fastest would be the highest in the scoring, right? So how fast your response is also matters. So I'll stop the screen now and share my Kahoot link. Hope you're ready with your phone. Just have to type kahoot.it. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Right, if you can see my screen right now, you see the code, the game pin. So if you're entering Kahoot.it, please enter that pin. Yep, I can see some of you are already in. Excellent. I'm on the great. I like that. All right. JJ is in. Okay, let's coming on. B, Kalin, Sabrina, Afina is in. Yao is here. Nina. Okay, good. Suppose a lot of you have the hang of it using Kahoot in the past, I guess. Boris. All right, just I think most of you are already in. Okay, so give it just another 30 seconds for those who are not in yet. KD. Okay. Oh, okay. Just one last person trickling in. Tiago. All right. Another 15 seconds. Okay, I think we can start. Okay, since it's a not, so obviously always agreeing is not the best of answers, right? Someone said they can't see the question, but I think anyone's having that problem. Okay. Nope. All right, so we have Nina on the scoreboard now. Okay, transition screen. You guys are really quick. I can see the answers coming in. You are in the game. Go for it. Oh, new leader now. Okay, so we've got groups, right? If you remember what Razi mentioned, when you have the permission setting as group, it goes globally across projects, unlike roles. Joe still holding the fort. Okay, so you remember, right? Razi did this demonstration. He said that if you have too much of your backlog items, moving them to the Kanban backlog will help. So we have Joe still up on the board. Yep. So it's that question mark, right? That basically displays all of that for you. So we have still Joe. The last question. That is fast. Okay, wow, this is a perfect score. Let's look. Okay, congratulations, the winners. And we've got JJ and Tiago as fourth and fifth. So congratulations, guys. We have your details, so you will be contacted by us. Right. So now let's get into the Q&A bit. Now that we have sort of completed the game, I have seen Razi replying to some of your questions from staff primarily. But I think there were one or two more. I think one of the questions asked by staff was, how do you apply one company project template to all existing projects? Is it possible to migrate a team project to a company project? Razi, you want to go with that?
Sorry, yeah. Before move to that question, I want to elaborate a little bit about this question. Can a project have a Scrum board and a Kanban board associated as well? So this one, since we can see as a board as a front end, Jira project is a back end. So for that reason, you can create a multiple board for multiple different board for the one project or multiple projects. So that's why the answer is yes. So next question is, how do we apply one company project to all existing project? Is it possible to migrate a team project to a company project? So for this one, I don't have the perfect answer for this because you still have to communicate with your product owner. So my suggestion is, you can sit down with your product owner and discuss the scheme that suit for the some projects. For instance, maybe for our case, we have a 30 support project. For 30 support project, it is relevant to use all of these using the same scheme. But for other development project, it doesn't make sense to use the same workflow as the support because it will have a different workflow, different status.
Yeah, Razi, I guess we have addressed most of the questions by staff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think there's something for Delun as well. From Tiago. And the question was, do you have to be a developer to use Script Runner, or Jira admin can use it with ease?
Okay, so don't really need to be a developer to use Script Runner, but having a basic knowledge of programming would be helpful. For a Jira admin that doesn't have programming knowledge, you can actually refer to our documentation. There are some really good guidance on there that probably would help in this case.
Absolutely.
And that really ties back to the first question that Tiago asked. Is there a place to really get the Script Runner setting and scripts? So that's a good question. I'll drop the link for the documentation so that is they can actually take a look and have some guidance on how to do that. Absolutely. On how to access that.
Thank you. I saw that from you. That was helpful.
Yep.
Thank you. So there are no other questions. We have sort of come to the end of the session, and we covered a few things today. Obviously on a very high level note, because given the time constraint that we have, we looked at Jira Cloud overview, the administration best practices, and Delun then covered recommended marketplace apps. So I just want to use this time to thank the sponsors, I think particularly Atlassian for making this possible. We have Agile Management Consultancy and our excellent speakers, Razi and Delun from Adaptavis. Our next session is going to be on the 30th of October. So we have it every 3 months. We will keep you informed